So, what does your new belief need to be to allow you to start investigating possibilities around playing the piano?
I guess when I'm back from work, it's maybe take the time to do my self-taught book lesson, which is not very...
Say that again, your self-talk?
A book, like
Yep.
where you can learn by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not very fun.
No. So if fun's important for you and learning it, that's what you need to look at here then. At the moment, fun's important as a value for you. So learning piano via a book, it's not fun. So at some point you then prioritise what could be possible when you're ready to put it higher up your list, to have that fun and make that an important thing for you to do around learning a new skill to be able to do it. So here's a tool. Given that there's the internet, have you ever tried Googling learning to play the piano? Because I reckon there must be a lot of technical nerd piano players that have gone on and put how to learn piano online as a starting point.
Yeah.
There's also an app that you can get for an iPad
Yeah.
and potentially a phone that teaches you how to
Play the piano, definitely. And I have the keyboard app because my kids play it all the time. So you can even have a little mini piano just to get yourself started with a scale, like it doesn't go very far. So you have some potential, couldn't you, to play it? Nice. So that's playing with a few little beliefs.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What if your beliefs are legit and you actually can't do...
Cool, fire, what is it?
I don't know. Like, I would like to think that mine are
doable,
but
yeah.
what if, you know, like I want to sing because I love it, but
Yep.
I genuinely can't. You know, I'm tone deaf.
So you
does
give
it
it...
come a point where you just put it aside and say that's never going to be and just walk away from it, or do you always kind of hold on to it?
I have the belief that anything is possible.
Okay.
So if I wanted to go and sing on a Broadway stage, I will go and find a way to sing on a Broadway stage. I've sung in the Opera House, so the Broadway stage is possible. I sang in the Opera House when I was like 20, so who knows what's possible. If you've never sung, I also have a really strong belief around people can sing, but they've never been given the tools and strategies of how to sing. So as long as you're in the company and your thoughts allow possibility, then anything's possible. Okay. Like if someone wants to go to the moon, it's just what you put in place, the steps you put in place to then be able to do what you want to do, to make that belief a reality. Right. But if we always have those negative ones and we hold on to those all the time, that's what stops us then for even considering the possibility, doesn't it? Stops the possible swing to what could happen. So give me a couple of work examples where there's a few beliefs floating around that need to change. Are there any that could change? Oh, you're all good at work. We're getting some personal stuff coming up. Is that what you want to cover off on? Or has anyone got a work you want to cover?
I put down that I think potentially I would like to retrain and kind of improve skills in other areas.
Yep.
But kind of from a, what is it called, the negative side of things, it's...
The limiting beliefs, yeah?
Yeah, you know, it is the financial impact, it's my age, it's like just a confidence thing.
Yeah, so there's lots of beliefs sitting there that hold you back from that possibility, isn't there? Okay, let's flip over to the very front page and have a look at the extraordinary leadership model. And this is self-leadership model. We're going to have a chat about this now. Now, why this is important is because when you ever get stuck in any area of life, it allows you the ability to move out of that stuck place, okay? And we can then move to a place where we need to move to, and that's move our thinking. So you all get that we're talking a lot about thinking tonight. That's where we have to play, because that's what has the most impact around us, moving those beliefs, putting them aside, not listening to them, to be able to focus on what has to be done and what has to happen. So we want to start in the space of why. Now, why do you reckon I just asked you so many questions about what's important and what are your expectations? because that fits up here in the why. And what is it all for? What's the purpose of it? This is really, really important because so often we forget our why. We forget why we're here. Literally bigger picture, why we're on the planet. Okay? Smaller picture, why we're in the room tonight. Smaller picture even, why you're sitting on this chair listening to me speaking. That's why we started with so much of that in the beginning. To understand what's important to you. What's important to me as a facilitator here tonight. Why we're having this presentation. And very often, people never start there, do they? They always go pretty much straight to the what. What I'm going to talk about tonight is personal development. Blah. Ta-da. How often do you go into a meeting and everyone goes, what we're going to cover today is da-da-da-da-da. Do you get that a bit? Yeah. If you look on most websites, people go, what we are is an XYZ company. Very few people actually remember the importance around starting up here. Why? The benefits. Write that one down because I haven't written some of this little detail in there. The benefits, okay, of what we're talking about. The benefits of what's possible. So the benefits of personal development, we covered off a lot on that, didn't we? So focusing on your why you're doing stuff, why you're making decisions, why you're getting up and training day in, day out for an event, why you're juggling family, business, all of that together. Knowing your why is really important. And what a why means is what your mission is, what your vision is, what your values are. Now, you've probably heard these in big picture company stuff and never ever discussed them at a personal level. Is there anyone in that position? A few nods. Cool. That is completely okay. I'll let you in on a secret. I never had either. I cruised through my 20s and through a fair bit of my 30s and then all of a sudden went, I think I need to get something a little bit clearer here. And I actually had a period where I was in a work position and I was having head-to-head clashes with someone and went, something's got to give here. This is not quite right. Too many hot buttons were being pressed. Hot buttons are when your values, what's important to you, is not lined up correctly. And they crunch and you're like, it's not sitting comfortably for me. That's when someone is pressing your value hot button and it's not quite right. And that is why it sits up in the why. So values sit up there, mission, vision, they're really important in that section. And that's why we spent so much time on it before we then get into what. So now we're in our what, which is all about the have. Up here it's the for. So, what we're going to be talking about is a mixture of information and learnings that I've got from Tony Robbins. Has anyone heard of him before? One of the world's most famous coaches, speakers, presenters, worked with millions of people. So he's come up with some really cool stuff. We'll share some of that. Then a model which has come from the Coaching Institute, Melbourne-based, where I've done my studies around all the coaching. And some of it comes from NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. Has anyone heard of that? Brain stuff. All about how we can reprogram our brain based on the language that we use, which is why when we talked about before the limiting beliefs, reframing. So we can change the way we're thinking based on the language that we use and what we tell ourselves. So that's what we're going to cover. Now, how does have come into it yet? Have we covered much have? No, a little bit, not much at all. So goal have fits in with results, benchmarks, options, achievements. And I put in the little bubbles for you. I've filled some of those words in. So you'll be able to see those. And if you're at home listening to this, just refer to your page at the exact same time. So what we want to have are kind of like our outcomes, our goals that we set. So your goal now is to run a marathon. But let's say we narrow it down and your goal is that you want to run 5Ks. Beautiful. How often?
Once a week.
Okay. Nice. So that's your goal. So goals sit up here as well. What are you going to have then as a result of doing that running?
As a result, physically how?
Could be. Could be socially too. I bet you guys all have an amazing time together doing this as a group event and training and all the fun and friendships and the training time together.
I think just a sense of achievement, actually doing it.
Okay, so you have a sense of achievement. That kind of fits up here as to why you're doing it, for that sense of achievement. What else do you get what will you get when you do it? What will you have as a result of doing it? So for example, new friends, because you might find some running buddies. You'll have lots of sunshine and good vitamin D from being outside more often. What else could happen?
I'll be a bit healthier.
Okay,
Learn more.
yeah. Okay, good start. Do you get a feel for what the results can be and why what you're going to have is really important? So who has some other things that they want to have that are on their list? They'd maybe like to have a new job, or they might want to have a new job, new elements of their job that they want to change and mix up and have more responsibility or more something.
Development opportunities.
Definitely. Because we talked about career, we wrote down the career stuff, didn't we? So what would you like to have around that topic?
Maybe some more training or sort of be able to have more experience in other areas.
Okay, nice. Yep, what else would come under have for you?
You have goal changes because you're setting high benchmarks.
Yeah, just speak up a little bit because we're taping for everyone out of town as well. Say that again, you're going to set...
Higher benchmarks or have your goals changed because you're...
Yeah, because you start achieving
now
things.
achieving, so-
Absolutely. Who's heard of a benchmark? Everyone familiar with those in a working environment? Nice. So imagine applying those to your own personal desires of what you want to have. And what would they look like? So a benchmark, how will you know that you can run? What's going to be a benchmark to know that you've achieved that goal? Just have a crack at it.
To know that I've actually done it.
Yeah.
I'll measure it. So
Yep.
I know that I've got a lap. So
Yep.
I'm seeing how far I've went.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're doing really well. It's cool. Keep having a play. Anyone that wants to help her out as well?
So then you'll
Jump
be able
in.
to push further. So if you go that 5.2,
Yeah.
then you've achieved the benchmark and you're on your way to the next.
Next level. So there could be a little incremental increase. That's your benchmark. That, yes, you do your 5Ks, but some days you might go, I can do that 0.2 extra. Or not. Depending. Yeah?
Yeah.
So what you want to have, you need to focus on what you want to have as much as why you're doing it. And there needs to be a balance in there. What do you reckon comes next? Who's reading? Because some of you are being very quiet, so I'm assuming you're reading a bit of paperwork. What's coming next?
How to achieve it.
Yes. Now, how often do we jump into the how? Straight after the what, people go, how I want you to do this is this. Often? It's all the doing. And how often do we get stuck in the doing? Day in, day out, we cycle around. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I know what I want to do. How I'm going to do it is there's a lot of focus on the doing, isn't there? And that's all the implementation. It's literally the strategies for how you're going to do something, the tactics that you're going to take. Everyone's pretty cool with the do factor? Nice. Let's have a look then at my favourite section where we're going to play. Who didn't pull me up on the colours? Oh no. Okay. To get creative now. The have is orange. And there's a reason for the colours. We'll explore that another time. What's next? Blue, thank you. The blue is the do. And then comes The who. And what's important about the who? It's all about be. Oh no! Okay. Maybe I should have given up on my colour coding tonight. Be. But I'm not going to give up on it because my belief is that I can colour code. All right. I will colour code.
You're giving yourself permission.
I am giving myself permission to make it messy, but it's okay that it's messy now. That does go against my very judgmental self of keeping it, looking good. So, who are we going to be tonight? We talked about that, didn't we? What did we talk about? We wanted to be all of that too, didn't we? So there's a little bit of an overlap around being and the for. So let's talk about what the differences are. Who do you need to be day in, day out at work? What else? Say that one again. Yourself. What does that mean? Being yourself. Which means? Okay. So being honest. Yeah.
Motivated.
Yes.
Intellectual.
Ooh, if you need to be, yeah. Absolutely. It's helpful, isn't it? When you've got to sound smart when you really need to be smart. Yeah. What else?
You have to participate.
So to participate then you need to be what?
Interested.
You're a team player.
Yeah?
You have to be aware of the other people and your surroundings and make sure that your behaviour fits in with those near you
Yeah.
to get the work done.
Yep. So that's being aware as well as being a team player, being interactive, being engaging.
Being a good communicator.
Definitely.
Also being a good listener.
Yeah. So how many of you at the moment are being who you really want to be in your work environment? Got a few nods? Awesome. That's brilliant. Because that's really important. That is the biggest thing if you want to move and have awareness of your potential. That's where the change happens. It is all about who you're being, and why you're being it. And if you are floating along with no big vision or mission or goal of where you see yourself, then you'll always come back to a place of those limiting beliefs and those theories around why it's not possible to do what you'd really like to do. And so often people stay down here, don't they? They stay stuck down here going, oh, I need to do this and then I'll have that. Oh, and if I had that, then I'd be able to do this. Vis-a-vis playing up here. And it could be a little bit potentially scary and fascinating and curious and interesting and potentially amazing playing up here, couldn't it? Imagine if you could play the piano. Imagine if you could run that marathon. Who else had some other cool things that they'd really like to do? Beautiful.
Well, my partner's from Canada and I can't snow ski, so if we go to live there, it scares me that I won't have a great time and be able to interact with all his friends because I'm the only one that doesn't have that skill.
Yep.
And I have tried in the past and I couldn't do it. So for me, it would be about revisiting that fear and trying to overcome it.
Beautiful.
But being in Australia, it's quite hard to overcome that here.
Because you know what you physically need to do to learn to ski. Who do you need to be then to make that happen?
More like motivated, driven, confident that I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. With some clear why.
Why?
Yeah. Is your why strong enough to get you skiing?
I think yes.
It is. It's a pretty bloody awesome why, isn't it? Like you really want to get up there and ski with him and his mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great why. Okay. For what purpose are you going to learn to ski?
So that I can participate with his friends and
Yep.
enjoy myself.
Yep. And what will that ultimately mean for you, or for what purpose then? What will you get out of it?
Satisfaction,
Yep.
comfort, enjoyment.
Yep. So never get stuck here with what you want to have out of achieving something. You got to take it up a notch.
So, does your passion fall under the why? So, if you know, to put it out there.
Yeah.
For an instance, I know, if you're really passionate of going fishing, you get up at 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock and you go out. But you've got to go to work to get up at 5.
Yeah.
You kind of go, So, is your passion more of a why driver?
It is a really great why driver.
Passion. It's funny how you can be passionate about something and achieve, but then really, really want to do this, but there's not as much passion behind it to do.
Correct.
That
Because the circle, it has to evolve and it goes around and around and it has to keep moving through. Otherwise, you know of people that are all talk. I want to do this because this, they know why they want to go and do things, but they're not doing this, any of that. Well, they spend all their time here doing stuff, but haven't actually articulated what they want to have and or why it's important. So passion is one element to here. But if you imagine this as a circle, as a big wheel, if the air's out of the tyre, it's a bit flat. It's not going to drive anywhere. And likewise, if that corner is flat alone, imagine that was like that, would be a bit of a clunky ride, wouldn't it? Anyone in touring here? No tour operators in the room? It's a clunky ride when your wheels aren't smooth and going around. So that's why you need to make sure that you've got all of your boxes covered here. Who are you being? What are you doing? What would you like to have? And for what purpose do you want to have all that? Now, if you flip over on the back side, giving you some cool questions asking exactly that. So the be, do, have, for model rolls around. So the first one on the left-hand side. For what purpose am I doing what I do? Who am I being to get the results I've got? What else would I like to achieve? And if I want more, then what do I have to do? And more importantly, who do I need to be? Or perhaps it's, what do I want to achieve? What will that mean for me? What skills and capabilities do I need to utilise or improve on? And am I being who I need to be to achieve this? Perhaps it could be, who do I need to be? How do I have to do it? What do I want to have? And what will it all be for? How's that sitting for everyone? What feelings are coming up for you right now, saying those questions?
I think there's some reflection going on.
Great.
And also, I think I normally sit in the do, like I'm always like, I'm going to do this, and then I kind of just get overwhelmed and don't end up doing any of it, and then just get frustrated and just kind of go around in a bit of a circle.
Yep.
Without actually stopping and making things more easily digestible. I just kind of jump to the end point and go, oh, that's all too hard, so I'll just remain.
Nice. Thank you for articulating that so beautifully. So your goals in your why, if you made them a little bit more like smaller perhaps, or more achievable, break them down. Like we don't eat a whole elephant, do we? Not that we're going to eat an elephant, but we'd break it down bite by bite by bite, wouldn't we? We'd have to. So the why often needs to get broken down a little bit more. And you've all heard of SMART goals, I assume, at some point in time. Give it to me. What's S? Specific. Say it nice and loud for those out-of-towners. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. Then comes the T. Beautiful. Time. Okay, so your goals in here do need to be broken down. Otherwise, yeah, we get into the do and the do and the do, and we just run out of steam sometimes, or leave it behind. Another one that happens when we spend a lot of time in the do is, way back to the beginning here, this kind of stuff comes up. If we're hanging about in the do all the time, then we start questioning, am I good enough? Am I going to belong in this group? Am I a part of this crowd? Do I fit in? Am I going to fail? All of this stuff then can bubble when you're spending so much time in the do, because your why, what's driving you to actually achieve what you're trying to do, isn't perhaps strong enough, or focused enough, or clear enough, or more specific. And then, even more importantly, we're not clear on who we need to be, because the being then has a chance to override our thinking on this one. So Einstein said we can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. Got a few nods, so people know this one. Okay, so if your thinking here is worrying about this stuff, then you never get to solve that problem that needs to happen. So that's why, by jumping out of the problem in the doing, when you're trying to work out how to do something, it's never about how to do it, is it? What's it about? Yeah, it's about why you're doing it. And from a business perspective, this overlays in business exactly the same. If there are not clear outcomes, there's not a clear vision or mission for your organisation, and you guys are all hanging about here doing the do, or worrying about who's actually doing it, same thing. You just churn and burn, churn and burn, churn and burn. Who's doing it? How's it being done? Who's doing it? How's it being done? And that's how everyone runs out of steam, falls over, because there is not a clear direction, mission, vision, whatever words you want to give it, clear outcomes. That's why it has to be so specific up here. And that's the same for you personally from a personal basis, as well as then from a professional basis. So for you to learn to play piano when you have so much else going on in your life and your work and all of those things, your why around wanting to learn it needs to be pretty big. Has anyone heard of big, hairy, audacious goals? That's why they're called big, hairy, audacious goals, because they sit up in here, because they're big. And you break them down into bite-sized chunks so that you know quite clearly what you'll have if you do them, you know how you're then going to do it, and you know who you need to be to make it happen. So take a few moments, and if you could buddy up and have a little bit of a chat with your buddy around something that you'd really love to achieve, or something that you know you need to be more of, to do something that's been hanging, you've been maybe procrastinating on it, thinking about it, not even procrastinating, just thinking about it. Have a little chat with your buddy and see what you come up with on using the circle, the model. Any questions? So it'd be very relevant for me now to say, how did you go? Am I going to say that? No. I'd like to say, for what purpose were you doing what you were just doing? But obviously we're going to do some how now. We're in the how. We're deep in the how, aren't we? How'd it go? Did anyone uncover something?
It helps. It's a good tool.
Yeah? Nice. Can you imagine yourself using that back in the office? What do you reckon you'd be hearing around you when you're communicating in this way?
Oh, it's clever.
That's good. We'll hear that. And how will you be feeling then when you're engaging everyone in that style?
Good. It's a lot more of a motivator.
Nice. Yeah. It's a very, very powerful tool. You can use it on yourself, obviously. That's what we're talking about tonight. But imagine if you went back and you said to someone, I love to have 2 minutes with you so we can cover off on the outcomes for next week's meeting. What we'll be looking at is just the plan, what's the goals, things we've got to do, also need to speak to so-and-so. Can we book the XYZ room so that we can have that room for a couple of minutes? It'll be you, me, and Freddie needs to come along as well. All good with that? That's literally how you would use that in a 2-second conversation through to your presentations next week. Who's been wondering how they're going to do it? Okay, you're sitting down in the how, aren't you? Come out of the how and remember, why am I doing it? For what purpose are we giving these presentations? What are the presentations? Are the goals clear for what and you're butting up doing it, aren't you? So what are the goals? And what's important to you as a team then to do it? Forget about how you're going to do it. Get really clear on why you're doing it. You could get up here and do the chicken dance, and as long as your heart was in it and your why is really clear, you would get the point across, wouldn't you? I look forward to the videos of the chicken dances. So you use this model all the time. And then who will you need to be for those presentations next week? Yourself? Yeah, but what about if yourself isn't going to cut up the mustard when you're petrified of speaking and you're not really a great public speaker and you've got all these limiting beliefs that really make speaking petrifying? Who are you going to need to be then? Have we got anyone that's petrified of speaking in here who's not a fab speaker? Cool, thank you for fessing up. Okay, so if you stick here worrying about the do, that gets harder and harder, doesn't it? It's like, whoa, it's really scary. So you come back to a really clear why of why you're doing it, and it's about giving, everybody. It's giving back to the room. It's actually not about you. Forget about you. I don't stand up here and go, oh my God, I'm going to worry if they think X, Y, Z about me or whatever. I gave that away, and it's the best feeling. For me in the room, there is never any of this. I don't have it of myself. If I stuff up and I make some mistakes, fabulous. I'll learn from them and do it better next time. It's the best message. There is no failure. There is only feedback. None of that's going on. So if there's none of that, then this kind of takes care of itself. Yes, you have to work. You have to do your preparation, your skill set, your content. Everything has to be there, doesn't it? You've got to do some homework to make it all happen. But who you're being then is really clear. So make sure you guys in your buddies now for when you're preparing for next week, do the circle. Who likes the circle? Hands up if you like the circle. Turn to your buddy and say, that circle is amazing. Okay, and now I want you to turn to your buddy that you've just done your work with and say, we are going to hook up in 1 month's time and come back to the model, check in on what we just talked about, and also cover off on another topic or another challenge or another goal, and play with the model again to set a couple of goals for what you would like to achieve with a really clear purpose of why you want to do it. How does that sound? Yeah? Brilliant. Love for you now to flip over the pages. We're going to do something completely different. To end tonight, let's just check in actually. Check in how we're doing on our list. Potential change. How's the potential for change? Out of 1 out of 10, out of 10 being the highest and 1 being, where are we at with the potential change for you now in the room?
8.
Got some 7s, some 8s? Okay. Who's hanging on to some stuff still? Good. Make sure you write them down. Write down those limiting beliefs so they can go around what is possible for you. Something you wanted to vocalise?
Not really. I just
Cool.
think it's harder to take action. Like, it's fine to look at a circle, but I think mentally it's really quite challenging to make that change.
That's
So
your current...
You would need a lot more dedication to that goal than just saying, oh, I understand the circle and I can acknowledge what I want to do.
Good. Thank you for admitting that. There is a lot more. That's why I'm a life coach now, and that's why I go into businesses, in and out of businesses, teaching them this, and I can guarantee you, as a business coach, 99.9% of the time, I sit here, because companies aren't clear there, and I sit here. Whether it's the business owner at the top, whether it's the team, the workshops, one-to-ones, whatever I do with them, it's around who people are being. And we all have the universal fears, we have those limiting beliefs, and that's what we go in and smash. And that does take a little bit of work. Is it the skiing thing, or is it something else that's niggling then?
I think it's just everything. I think it's just, I don't know, there's so many things in life that just generally speaking for me anyway, there's so much, you
going on.
do, but just doesn't always happen. So,
Yep.
and you can't make everything happen at once either, so those goals kind of have to be
Put into some kind of order.
place in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's really important. So here's some very cool questions to ask yourself when you're stuck around something like this too. What will happen if I do X, Y, Z? And I'll email these to you as well. Make sure at the end of the night, if you leave me your business card in the little tray, then I'll email you these. What will happen if you do X, Y, Z? What will happen if you don't do X, Y, Z? What won't happen if you do X, Y, Z? And what won't happen if you don't do it? These are really cool questions. So if you've got something that you're playing with at the moment, when I send these questions to you, I want you to insert the example, have a play with it, and then you're very welcome to email it back to me, and we will bust whatever that belief is that's hanging about that could be causing some challenge or limitations, or you want the stretch, you want to be stretched even further. So the potential for change. How about growth? Who's grown a little bit tonight? Not much? Out of 10? Be honest. You're an 8? Yep, cool. Guys, be honest. If you're sitting on it and you're not answering because you're still down on a 3, put your hand up. If you're a 3 or a 2 or a 1 and you haven't grown enough yet tonight, let me know, because that's got to be played with. That's really great feedback. Who's still sitting down low?
I'm not sure what I understand to what growth means.
Good.
Like, potential change I get, is it like awareness? Because if it's awareness, then I'm solid, but I don't really know how I would measure if I've grown. I'm grown in terms of my knowledge and understanding.
Yep.
Is that it?
That's good.
Oh.
Yep, give it that meaning, absolutely. If it could mean something different to someone else as well,
Okay.
what growth is. For those of you that haven't said boo to me yet tonight, and there's a couple sitting here, where are you at? I really want to know. You know if you haven't said anything, so pipe up. Where are you at? Are you all good?
My growth is an 8 because now it makes me passionate wanting to go out of this room and go back and sit down and list down my whys and put them
Get
forward,
clear on
put
them.
my values forward to what's more important
Nice.
to me right now. So
Great.
It's given me a drive, a passion.
Beautiful. And when you go home, if you get like a bit confused on what fits where and what you're writing down, zap it to me on email. I'm happy to have a look at it, tweak it for you and come back with some suggestions to make it jig it a little bit. So let's say we've got some growth. Some ideas on personal, professional. We didn't talk too much about money, that's a biggie. But who now using this tool could get a little bit clearer on what they would like from a financial perspective? Going in and having that conversation around a pay rise, or maybe sitting down with a partner and having to have that deep and meaningful about where we're investing our money or not, saving our money as the case may be, whatever that conversation is. So that's some financial. What about some emotional? We've touched a little bit about that because it's very much in the B of who you're being right now. Career development. Planning, goal setting. This stuff all sits where? Some of it's in here. If you want to develop your career, what do you need to go and do? A course, read books, Google stuff. What else?
Speak to other people.
Absolutely. How many of you have loved having the mentor program and being able to learn about that stuff? Talk to someone. Having mentors is really important. Having a mentor sits in here. Go find more mentors. Don't just think now because the program's over, I don't have to do the mentoring thing anymore. Go find new mentors, because that is growth. That is stretching yourself. That's putting yourself out of your comfort zone to go and have some great conversations with people. So career development sits in here. If you know you want to go to a different role and become a manager and you've never managed people, then what's got to happen, do you think, to be able to do that? First, you have that conversation around with your boss, for example. I would really like to learn about managing people. You have that conversation to then maybe go and do a course to develop the skills that you need and the capabilities that you need to be able to do it. The planning, You're all clear on where the planning sits, hey? Here and here. You know what you want to have. For what purpose do you want to have it? Write down those goals really clearly. Some values of your own. Who's got a little bit clearer tonight about what's important to them and why it's important? Yeah? Beautiful. And what about then awareness of your potential? Who's got some lurking potential that is about to spring out? What are some things now that you might want to go and do, or who are you going to be and to achieve those? Who'd like to share? Got some running happening. Got some more health and vitality happening. We could have some potential ski research going on. What else, Penny? What about you and Kinyat? Been very quiet in the back of the room there.
I think for me is to step out of my shell professionally.
Yep.
Step out of my shell in my little area
Mm-hmm.
and actually step up and out and potentially talk to more people, to train others, to spread the knowledge. Generally just basically, instead of focusing technically, sort of opening myself up.
Beautiful. And what's that going to take for you to be able to do that?
I think it's conscious effort
Mm-hmm.
in actually not just focusing on my immediate work,
Mm.
but to sort of elevate myself up a level and,
Yep.
to talk to people.
Beautiful. Conscious effort's a really interesting one that you bring that up. Did you guys know 97% of what we do is unconscious? Only 3% of what we do is conscious. So there's a heck of a lot going on without us knowing. So what we're doing here now with the gap and the awareness of potential is starting to tap into what's unconsciously going on that we kind of need to have conscious awareness of, because that is what shrinks the gap we started talking about earlier. It is about knowing this is where I want to get to, this is where I'm currently at, and hey, what can we do to shrink this gap between the two? Thanks, Kenya. Who else would like to share? We're going to be wrapping up very soon.
Sorry, me?
Go for it.
I believe strongly that I can't keep everyone happy. And from my role, career-wise, I am supposed to be approachable and keeping everyone happy. But I've realised that I need to be the driver most of the time
Mm-hmm.
and look at why, from a company perspective, and where we want to achieve. So trying to keep everyone happy can be a challenge.
Yeah.
At times, yeah, because you really can't be friends with, best friends with everyone. You can't give them the same piece of pie. So that's just my challenge. So having to try and remind myself I'm the driver, and depending where I need to go, that's then I can keep certain people happy to a certain extent. So
Yeah. Keep also in mind, Penny, that we are never in control of anyone else's happiness. We're in control of our own, and that is the number one. That people make themselves, they choose their state of happiness, sadness, crankiness, angriness, whatever they want to go with, that you're in control of you alone and you're not responsible for other people's state. They are. They are as well. That's a really important one. Cool. Thank you.
I don't know if this helps anyone, but I always like to think within business, because going to personal development conference once before, a guy said a challenge is, if you look at challenges as being on the way and not in the way. So whenever I come to a
That's
challenge,
nice.
I go, I can't do this. I always go, it's on the way.
Yeah, that's a
On the
beautiful
way.
one. Write that one down. Challenges are on the way, not in the way. That's a really cool. I wonder who quoted that one. To Google it, find out who's responsible for that one. It's Martinis. Oh, there you go. Beautiful one. Really nice. Are there any questions or queries? We are going to call it a night because we are 7:30 on the dot. Now you will see some sneaky other pages in behind. And these are called the 6 core needs. Now I knew timing could be tight, but I wanted to give you some extra value. So we're going to do a very speedy look at these, and then that's your home play to take home and have a look at yourself. And I would love you to hook up with your buddy again, because there will be a little activity that you can do around this. 6 core needs for me have been probably the most life-changing, transformational things to know about. And that's Tony Robbins came up with these with all his study. Like, he's worked with millions of people. And so he discovered the 6 core needs, which is work, if anyone has ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, goes further back, a few nods, beautiful. So his work was developed on some of that. But basically we have 6 core needs in life. They're kind of like our petrol tanks. If you imagine you're at the petrol bowser, and that's life. You know, you need to keep your petrol tanks full to do anything, whether that's in relationships, finance, career, all of it, fun, recreation, everything. You need to have your petrol tank full. And it's as much as from a motivator perspective as well as what drives you. So it's what motivates you, what drives you, as well as being an absolute core need to literally what we get out of bed for every morning. And there's 6 of them. So let's fly through them. And you can then take these and have a little play.